Hey guys, here's my list of the top 10 heavyweights in the past 60 years. So I'm starting my list at the era of Muhammad Ali, which means I'm not including, fighters like Joe Louis or even Sonny Liston. So it starts when Muhammad Ali was champion. So for the list, it's about, who's the best heavyweight, but also just like who had the most exciting career or the most dominant. And it's not so much about, how I think one heavyweight would match up with another, because it's like you can't really say, who would win a fight between Ali and Tyson, because it never happened, right? So because I'm not really looking so much at those hypothetical matchups, but more just about how their careers played out and where I'd rank them according to that. So one thing also I just want to say, it always stands out to me is let's just go with basketball. When you think of the careers of Kobe Bryant versus Tim Duncan, right? So they both were very dominant. They both won 5 championships. But most people remember Kobe, whereas it seems like very few people remember Tim Duncan. And most people would rate Kobe higher than Tim Duncan too. But my point is, I think the reason why most people think so highly of Kobe and not Tim Duncan, or why Kobe's so much more remembered, is because he was just so much more exciting. A lot of sports is just like how you make the audience feel, right? At the end of the day, it is entertainment. So, watching Kobe really made you feel something, whereas Tim Duncan was just pretty boring, even though he did win as well, and was very dominant. Anyways, so let's get to the list. For number 1 for the past 60 years, best heavyweight, I'm putting Mike Tyson. I think he was just so dominant during his era, in the late 80s. And I like, too, that he was so feared. You figure the heavyweight champion of the world should be someone that instills a lot of fear in people, very intimidating, can punch really hard, a ton of, big knockouts. I mean, that's what heavyweights are for, right? Are those big knockouts. So I feel like, to be the best heavyweight ever, you have to have that huge punching power and the big knockouts. And, with Tyson, he had the speed and he had it all. So, whatever, for me, the best, and just in terms of just excitement, I mean, he was so dominant, he was so exciting. So for me, Tyson's the best heavyweight for the past 60 years. Number 2, I'll put Muhammad Ali. I mean, obviously, I think you can put Ali 1 and Tyson 2, or Tyson 1 and Ali 2, but, me, I'm putting Tyson 1. Ali is obviously very great. Before he got drafted, he looked pretty unbeatable. He really looked like no one could touch him. I think also both Ali and Tyson, you have to kind of look at their careers before they went on those big breaks, right? So, Ali was undefeated, and then he had that 3-year break, and then Tyson, I think he was maybe 42-1, and then he went to prison for 3 years. So, both of those guys before their big 3-year breaks from boxing, they both looked pretty unbeatable and pretty dominant. Another thing with Ali too is obviously, he had so many amazing wins and fights, and yeah, I mean, obviously made you feel excited too. But I don't know. To me, there was just something about that whole aura of Tyson and the mystique and the aura around a Tyson fight. I think for those reasons, I'm putting Tyson 1. If they did ever fight, I mean, I don't really like to do the hypothetical matchup, but if they did ever fight, I just assume they would both win at least 1. Can't imagine them only going to fight once. So let's say they fight 3 times. Maybe Ali wins 2 and Tyson wins 1, or vice versa. I don't know. But anyway, so far for the list, good. Tyson 1, Ali 2. Number 3, I'll put George Foreman. Whatever. I just think George Foreman, is big, strong, punches hard. It's kind of tough for anyone to fight him, and to see him win a belt at 45 is pretty unbelievable. I don't know. I just think Foreman is, he was special. Those top 3 guys to me, Ali, Tyson, Foreman, I think those guys are all kind of in a class of their own. And whatever. So yeah, Tyson first, Ali 2, Foreman 3. For number 4 is where I think it gets kind of debatable. You can kind of shuffle these next few guys around. For me, for number 4, I'm going to put Evander Holyfield. He was just, his fights were so exciting, and he was a special fighter, and I feel like it was hard not to be a fan of Holyfield. And you know, he was great and everything. And I don't know, I'm putting him number. Also, I mean, how many great fighters did Holyfield beat? Right, he beat Tyson, he beat Larry Holmes, he beat George Foreman, he beat Riddick Bowe, he beat. Sure, there's other guys I'm forgetting. I don't know. Holyfield was amazing, and you know, just a true. I don't know, just a true warrior, right? I mean, really, that's like the epitome of someone that was just, you know, really going for it out there. Just a real fighter. Number 5, I put Larry Holmes. I haven't really seen Larry Holmes fight much. I didn't really see many of his fights. I know he was pretty dominant, but I guess he didn't have much competition. But I guess it's more from what I've heard. I've heard he was really good. And I mean, I saw his fight against Tyson when he was old, so that doesn't really count, I guess. But whatever. From what I heard, I guess it makes sense to put Larry Holmes at number 5. For number 6, I put Joe Frazier. And for number 7, I put Lennox Lewis. The reason I put Frazier ahead of Lennox Lewis is you think about it, both Frazier and Lewis each have lost to 2 people, right? So Frazier has losses against Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, who are, you know, both higher than him on this list. Whereas Lewis has losses to Oliver McCall and Hasim Rahman, and both of them are one-punch knockouts. To me, that's just like, I mean, going to Lennox Lewis here, I mean, to me, my big problem with Lennox Lewis is how do you have 2 one-punch knockout losses to Oliver McCall and Hasim Rahman? To me, that just looks bad. It's like, I agree Lewis is great and all, but how could you deny he has a glass jaw? I mean, could you imagine Tyson getting one-punch knocked out by a guy like Oliver McCall? Or could you imagine, you know, George Foreman getting a one-punch knockout by Hasim Rahman? You know, so that's why I think or even imagine that happening to Joe Frazier, right? So yeah, I think it makes sense to put Joe Frazier above Lennox Lewis. I think Joe Frazier, I mean, obviously he was exciting, he was a tough guy. I mean, he beat Muhammad Ali in that fight of the century, so I think that's a pretty big deal. And yeah, I mean, Joe Frazier had a great career, but I think he was unfortunate to run into Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. So yeah, Joe Frazier 6, and then I'll put Lennox Lewis 7. So for me, in the past 60 years, those are the 7 guys that I would consider like great fighters. I would consider right now Usyk a great fighter, but his career is not over yet, so I'm not really including him on this list. But if I did have to include him on this list, I don't think Usyk is fast enough or strong enough to fight. Sorry, I don't think he's fast enough or strong enough to beat Tyson, Ali, or George Foreman. So for that reason, I don't think Usyk could ever be higher than 4. And a lot of people would agree that Usyk fights pretty similarly to Evander Holyfield, and right now Evander Holyfield's 4. So yeah, if Usyk was on this list, maybe he'd be around where Evander Holyfield is. Okay, so far to recap, I have Tyson 1, Ali 2, Foreman 3, Evander Holyfield 4, Larry Holmes 5, Joe Frazier 6, Lennox Lewis 7. For number 8, I put Riddick Bowe. He is a pretty great fighter whose career kind of ended quickly. I'm not really sure why, but I mean, he was big and strong, and he was a tough matchup for anyone. Number 9, I put Tyson Fury. I think with Tyson Fury, I mean, he's so tall and big and light on his feet. I think he poses a tough matchup for anyone. You know, he's a very good boxer. One of my issues with Fury, though, is I feel like it seems in a lot of his fights, he always kind of has those like mental lapses where he's fighting well and then out of nowhere he makes some big mistake or allows a big punch to land on him or does something dumb or whatever. I don't know. I feel like Fury's like too much of a clown or something. I'm putting him number 9, though. I mean, I think he was pretty great. I think he was the best of that trio of, you know, Fury, Wilder, and Joshua. So, anyways, I have him at number 9. For number 10, I put Vitaly Klitschko. I think Vitaly Klitschko was the better Klitschko of the two brothers. He was pretty good. He's dominant. I mean, both Klitschko brothers, I thought, didn't really have much competition. I've always kind of felt, too, that, like, both Klitschko brothers and Lennox Lewis were kind of the first, like, generation of those super heavyweights, right? You know, those big heavyweights that were, like, 250 plus and were just much bigger than their competition. So I think both Vladimir Klitschko and Vitaly just benefited from being around at a time when there wasn't really anyone to challenge them. Neither Vladimir or Vitaly have, you know, fights that I consider like really impressive wins. But I mean, obviously they had good careers, and so I'd put Vitaly Klitschko at number 10. After that, just a few mentions would be, so after that, I guess I would mention, you know, Vladimir Klitschko. Maybe I'd put him at like 11 or 12, and the other one also I'd put up there is Deontay Wilder. I guess 11 or 12 if I had to, you know, make it a top 12. I think Wilder's career was also kind of impressive. There was a while there when Wilder had I think he had 10 title defenses in a row. I mean, he was looking pretty great, and he was looking very confident, and just, I know he's pretty flawed as a boxer, but in terms of just someone having great knockout power and just looking very confident, I can't imagine who won. It was very intimidating. I know it didn't seem like anybody wanted to fight him. And then, I mean, that fight against Fury, I don't know if the ref counted the first fight, right? So if the ref had counted really quickly and counted in a knockout, which he could have, who knows? I think Wilder's career could have played out a lot differently. I mean, I guess eventually he would have gotten exposed, but it would have been interesting how his career played out. Obviously, Fury was like the worst matchup for Wilder, and that pretty much ended his career. But I think Wilder also kind of ended Fury's career because, I mean, he knocked Fury down 4 times in their 3 fights, and I don't really think Fury was ever the same. I mean, obviously Wilder wasn't the same after his 3 fights with Fury, but I don't think Fury was ever the same after his 3 fights with Wilder. Anyway, so to just recap my list, so I put 1, 2, 3 Ali, Tyson. 1, 2, 3. I put Tyson, Ali, then Foreman. I think those 3 guys really stand out above the rest. For 4, 5, 6, 7, I put Evander Holyfield, Larry Holmes, Joe Frazier, Lennox Lewis, and I think those top 7 guys are all all-time greats, and I think that's where the all-time greats ends in the past 60 years. And then for 8, 9, 10, I put Riddick Bowe, Tyson Fury, and Vitaly Klitschko. Alright, I guess that's all. I hope you guys enjoyed the list. I guess, you know, comment if you want, let me know what you think. I'm curious too what people think in terms of like sports entertainment, like how much does the entertainment part matter in discussing all-time greats? Do the greatest fighters or athletes have to be exciting too, or is winning all that matters? But yeah, like I don't know. I think excitement's a big part of it, and whatever. I guess I don't really have much else to say, but yeah, I put Tyson number 1 and Muhammad Ali number 2. And alright, that's my list. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Bye.